there are several gotchas in short-term rentals. Whether you use AirBnB, VRBO, whatever it is you're using that's a short-term Travelocity, any of these sites, which Airbnb and VRBO are your two main sites for rentals, what you have to look for is the city ordinance. For instance, I can give you an example. In Sugar Land, Texas, which is over by Houston or down by Houston, the city has an ordinance against Airbnbs. I should say it this way. You need to look to see if there is a city ordinance against short-term rentals. If there's not, then you're good there. The second thing you need to look out for is are you in the middle of an HOA, or is this out in the country where there are no HOAs? One of the number one things that makes short-term rentals really, really good is that there is low inventory of them in most cases. And you look at it and you say, why is there low inventory? The reason there's normally low inventory with short-term rentals is, number one, there's a large amount of HOA communities that you can't use them in, or there's city ordinances against them. That means that your restriction is on the supply of them, because not as many people can do a short-term rental based on those two things. Homeowners Association won't allow it, city won't allow it. Okay, so that's what you want to look for. If you pass those two thresholds, then the next thing I would do is I would tell you to run a test market. Go out and list that property on the short-term rental sites and see what kind of pressure comes in. Because you don't want to buy an asset that you think is going to be well as a short-term rental and then find out later it's not, and your business model failed based on the fact that you didn't understand what the pressure of your market is. Oftentimes what I'll do is I'll tell a client, if you can and you have time and the seller will allow you to do this, you can actually go to the seller and say, we'll buy the house subject to getting a gauge on what the pressure is on the short-term rental market. And you can go in and you can list it on the short-term rental market, and you can set it up so it's not an instant booking, but they have to ask you. If they have to ask you, you can respond or turn them down. It does affect your rating on the short-term rental site, but you can turn them down and basically say, it's not available right now, we're in the middle of renovations, or whatever it is that is your story that's in truth. You can give them a reason why it's not yet ready. But what it allows you to see is how many people are coming in and asking you to book that home. And that will give you an idea of how much you're going to make on your short-term rental. There are also plenty of sites out there that you can go to that will show you what their estimates are of doing a short-term rental in that area. I haven't used those sites for myself personally because I have a team and staff that does all our short-term rentals. And so we're constantly running comps on a weekly basis and on a consistent basis to see where our values are, and we're gauging pressure off of our own properties. Oh, one other thing is this. Make sure you pay attention. If the house is seasonal or the area is seasonal, you need to base your rates based on what you can bring in the season that's on and what you won't bring in on the season that's off. I have a property that's down at the beach that I know I can rent it for 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months it's pretty much a dead property. Okay, so you have to keep in mind what actually is the income you'll bring in on the asset during the on and off seasons. Those are the things you want to look at when you're looking at doing a short-term rental.